Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Ottawa Senators trade deadline preview episode. We are joined today by the one and only Owen Howlett, coming at us live from Calgary, Alberta. Owen, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be back on the show. How are you guys?
Yeah, I guess you were like our first guest. You and Audie together coming on to talk Flames after that was in the wake of the Tkachuk trade, right?
I think that was like a playoff preview. That was a playoff preview. I think.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, so they still had Gaudreau and Tkachuk, and I think we ended up talking a little bit about like what was going to happen in the summer, but Calgary was gearing up for a massive playoff run.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were talking numbers of contracts and all that jazz. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we went over all that.
Yeah.
And then it never ended up happening.
All right. Well, this time we're going all Sens. We're saving the Flames for your brother next weekend, so we can talk about that situation when we do. But for now, we're talking about, I want to say, the least exciting deadline situation going in, like for Canadian teams, I would say, unless something very much unforeseen or occurs in the next couple weeks. We actually had a trade earlier today. Tyler Mott going back to the New York Rangers in exchange for a conditional 7th, which is so funny. That becomes a 6th, I think, if they win in the first round. And I want to say 23 or 24-year-old Julien Gauthier, who was a first-round pick in 2016, I want to say.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people called it a lateral move because Gauthier is pretty much going to slide into where Mott was on like the third or fourth line, just getting a little bit younger, but also maybe taking a step back in terms of production because Mott is a better player at this point in their careers. But so that dropped pretty much right before game time. Mott was confirmed to be out because of trade-related reasons. So, Owen, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the deal from earlier today.
Yeah, honestly, to me, it seems like it was a trade that happened just for the sake of Pierre making a trade. Because, if you look at their stats this year, like, they're basically the same player, but you're just getting a younger version of Mott.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Mott was kind of a guy I was actually looking to want to re-sign in the summer because, I think he's done pretty well for himself down in the bottom 6 there. And he's got his playoff experience he had insane playoffs last year with the Rangers. And I don't know, I think he was a guy I was looking at actually keeping, but I don't know, I guess we'll see where Gauthier fits in.
Did you guys both know that he was 27? I thought Mott was a little bit older than that.
Yeah, I personally did not know that he was. I would have guessed that he was. I thought he was 29, 30 for sure.
Yeah. I would have guessed 29 or 30, but so they get a few years younger. It's obviously not the same thing, but I liken it to the Nick Paul for Matthew Joseph trade last year, where Pierre very much looked at replacing the player with a younger player that slots into that role. Maybe not the same play style, especially last year with Matthew Joseph coming in for Nick Paul, but basically taking a step back in terms of production, but replacing the role with a younger guy and then throwing in a draft pick. I think that's a lot of what this was, especially because Ottawa is still kind of in the playoff race. So, I mean, you don't want to take too big of a step back. Not that Tyler Mott's like this all-world bottom 6 guy. He's probably the best guy in that bottom 6 if you maybe ignore the fact that Pinto and Greg often filter out in and out of that bottom 6. So, an interesting trade. Ryan, do you want to give your thoughts quick maybe on the deal?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Joseph trade because it's almost identical, just kind of less valuable assets. It's Pierre trading out a UFA asset for an RFA asset plus a pick. Yeah. That's exactly what it was last year with that trade. Personally, like Owen said, I was thinking about Mott as maybe the one guy you might want to re-sign going into next year, keep him for your bottom 6. Although he doesn't put up a ton of points, I love what he brings to the team in penalty killing and just overall defensive play in the bottom 6. I think he does really well there. But on the other hand, Gauthier, he seems to be a bigger guy that hasn't really put it all together. Like he he's one of those guys who was on the St. John Sea Dogs team with both Shabbat and Joseph. So it seems to be another vibes trade that Pierre Dorion likes to make so often as well too. So I don't know. At the end of the day, like it's not something that's going to be groundbreaking in terms of this team getting into the playoffs. But I did like to see that they got a body back to still kind of help them down the stretch here. If it was just him going out the door for like a middling pick, I wouldn't have really got it unless he wanted out.
Or unless like someone from the minors gets the call, like one of the young guys that are playing well in the minors, like a Sokolov or a Cruikshank. But it just, like, Ottawa has so many sort of like older guys in the bottom six that it would have felt annoying if Mott got traded out for just a draft pick, because you kind of know that then, like, I don't know, a Gambrell or a Watson or a Derek Brassard would just be playing full time instead of like splitting minutes. But anyway. So this is kind of unless you include Cam Talbot, this is probably like the biggest shoe to drop for Ottawa leading up to the deadline. That could change, obviously, depending on how Pierre Dorion chooses to approach the deadline once he sells off a couple of pieces. Owen, what's like maybe the biggest name left on the roster that you're looking at in terms of Pierre probably dealing away before the deadline?
I could see probably Talbot, to be honest, because I think it was Vegas. They're looking at some goalie troubles right now, and I feel like Talbot you'd probably get the most for, because like Holden and Watson are not the most desirable of players, and I feel like you could if you get Talbot for a quick little playoff run him as your backup, or even if you have to run him as a starter for however long, I think he could contribute to those teams. But that also leaves you, like, if you do trade Talbot, then you're just going to run Sogard Mando the rest of the year, because Forsberg, we're looking at next season return, right? So
yeah, that's kind of I'm glad you mentioned Sogard and Mandolese, because I was going to ask you if their recent play maybe change, like, let's put yourself into the shoes of Pierre Dorion. Would the recent play of Sogard and Mandolese change how you approach the deadline with Cam Talbot? Like, they've played very well. Sogard's been awesome. Mandolese had a great first start. Would that impact your decision to trade away Cam Talbot, or would you stick with the status quo and sort of just, if a good offer comes along, you take it. If not, you keep him?
yeah, honestly, I think that second point there, if a good enough offer comes, I think you have to take it. But yeah, both those goalies, they've looked really well so far, and like Mando's only got one game though, so it's kind of really hard to just be like, oh, okay, you know what, this is the tandem of the future after a combined like 5 starts each. But I don't know. I'd be okay running with Sogard and Talbot if they don't find a trade partner for Talbot come the deadline.
Sorry, you said sticking with Sogard and Talbot as your tandem down the line?
Yeah, unless you get an offer that you just can't refuse for Talbot, I would just stick it out for the end of the year.
What kind of offer would be something along the lines of what you can't refuse? Like, what are we talking? Like a what round pick, or like a certain number of picks? What do you think?
I don't even know what his worth would be. Like, what would you guys think? Like a second? Do you think that would be fair, or do you think you could fetch a first?
I think if you get offered a second, you take it and you run.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
I think the second round pick is the offer where it's like, okay, don't care, you can have him. I think it'd be more realistic to get like a conditional fourth that becomes a third if they go on a playoff run or something like that. Something like those GMs like to do.
I'm of the kind of a similar mindset. Like, I think I'd rather keep him unless you get a really, really good deal. I would, and like, I didn't even really want to pick up Spencer Martin when he was on waivers, but I really just wanted somebody so that Mando could go back down. Like, I want Mandolese to be able to get games consistently. I don't want one of those two sitting on the bench every single game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the hard part. I typically would say if there's a market for Talbot in a third, go for it because you don't currently have your third. But I just don't know if it's worth it to constantly have one young goalie always on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when Talbot was hurt and Sogard came up to back up Forsberg for a bit, it was good because Sogard's getting into the odd game, but then Mandolese is starting in the minors. But then now that both NHL goalies are injured, you've got both AHL guys up, so it's kind of a similar situation with Mandolese just backing up Sogard. And I would expect Mandolese to get the start tomorrow against Boston. So we'll see how that goes. That could be a really cool story depending on how it goes. But yeah, so probably the most interesting decisions for Ottawa heading up to the deadline are definitely in net. Not a lot to talk about on D. Nick Holden's been mentioned. Dorion seems pretty committed to having Travis Hamonic ride out the season next to Jake Sanderson for God knows why. At forward, there's quite literally nothing, especially with Dorion sort of muffing out the DeBrincat rumors, unless someone really likes a guy that loses a bunch of fights. I don't see...
Apparently, according to Bruce Garriock, there's a lot of interest in Austin Watson. So,
I wonder who told Garriock to tweet that out.
Yeah,
that sounds like a scheme by front office to try to spark some bidding wars on Austin Watson.
Yeah, come on.
I picture that being a situation where I think Nashville seems like the type of team. They're not in the playoff race, but they're the type of team that would trade for Austin Watson.
That's where they got him from.
Actually?
Yeah, Ottawa traded for him from Nashville.
Okay. Anyway, I could see that being a situation where a team throws a seventh at Ottawa and is like, oh, did we outbid the team? And they're just like, nope, there were no other teams, but you can have him. Something like that. So yeah, not much to talk about at forward. D, again, Hamonic not going anywhere. Holden probably not either. We talked about. So sorry, what?
I was just gonna say I don't really understand Pierre Dorion completely ruling out Travis Hamonic just not being a trade chip at the deadline. I don't know why he has to finish the year off next to Jake Sanderson.
Because he said it from the start. He wanted Sanderson to have a consistent partner for the whole season.
I know, but you traded a third for him, you might have an opportunity to get some of that back. And he's not going to be back with the team next year. I don't know.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
You better not.
You don't know that. Oh my goodness, Ryan. You know better than to say things like that.
If JVD plays one more game in Belleville past this year, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, it's the fact that he's down there right now is crazy. So not not a lot to talk about in terms of selling points leading up to the deadline. But Owen, Ottawa won again today. We're not talking about Friday, but they got a point from Friday. So right now they're sitting 5 points back of a playoff spot with 4 games in hand. And obviously, if you take a look at the standings, Buffalo and Detroit have better math, but right now Ottawa has better points percentage than Florida and I believe the Islanders as well. With that in mind, would you like to see Pierre Dorion add a guy or two leading up to the deadline, or would you maybe just want him to stick with who he's got while maybe selling off some of the periphery pieces, like it looks like they might do as well? Where do you think Ottawa should go with this?
I feel like they should maybe be a conservative buyer, just see what's available, because Sanderson being out, that really hurts your defense. So I don't know, maybe test the waters, see. I know everyone in the league is looking for a defenseman at the moment, but I don't know, maybe see if there's a decent kind of depth defenseman you could grab just to help out, because you're not having to call up Dylan Hetherington, Jacob Larson every 2 weeks kind of thing. And the forwards, I think I would I would leave the forwards the way they are, because the top six like won this game today, in my opinion, with the chemistry and all the scoring they've got. I'd leave the forwards as is. Maybe if you could sell off the guys like Watson and Holden, just get whatever you can for them, and then maybe use those assets to add. But yeah, if I were them, I wouldn't go all out like this is a win now kind of year. I would just sort of see what's out there.
Yeah, so Ottawa currently, just doing quick maths in my head, this could be wrong, but it seems as though they have a better points percentage than Florida, Washington, and the Islanders, and they're just shy of Buffalo and Detroit in terms of points percentage. So they're legitimately right there in the playoff race. And I mean, who knows? Like, if maybe if this team, like, the Islanders added a bunch of guys. So it's kind of one of those situations where you look at Ottawa, you see how young they are, and there's a real decision to be made in terms of, do you want to invest assets in a season where your best case scenario is like a 5% chance at a first-round matchup with the Boston Bruins? Is that something that's worth trading for, or do you go after a guy with term? Definitely some interesting decisions for Dorion to make. Ryan, I don't know if you wanted to add something to that, but I know Owen referenced before we started that he had a couple of mock trades that maybe we could look at and dissect, just sort of maybe as some inspiration for what we could see leading up to the deadline.
Yeah, I guess what I'll add is just what I would like to see from Ottawa at the deadline is that I definitely want to see them move out those kind of borderline lineup guys like Watson and Holden if there is any market for them. Literally take anything back if you're being offered it, and then bring up a guy like Crookshank or something from the AHL. But I would also like to, if there is a chance to go get a guy for defense that has some term that makes sense, I would still like to see them do it. Like, I agree that going out and getting a help for this year and this year alone doesn't make any sense. Like, the asset management on that it doesn't make any sense. But if you can still find a fit past this year, or maybe an RFA, or I don't even want to say bring in UFA and potentially extend them, but like, if you know there might be a chance, like something like that,
Yeah.
I would still more than welcome open something like that as well.
Owen, do you want to maybe throw, like, how many mock trades do you have?
I think I've got a couple here. They're just on that cap friendly trade machine where people just put on their armchair GM hat and just sometimes they throw some garbage out there. But
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. You want me to just get into the ones I've found, or?
Yeah, pick your favorite one. Maybe pick the one you like the most or you think is most realistic, and we can maybe talk about it for a minute.
Sure. Let's see here.
Just
this one's a three-way.
Oh, sorry. You've got one. Go ahead.
Three-way deal.
Sorry, I got one. Yeah. This one's a 3-team trade. I don't know. It's the Bruins, the Sens, and the Blue Jackets.
Okay.
So this wouldn't work anymore because Tyler Mott just got traded today, and he's part of this package. But the Sens would be acquiring Matt Grzelcyk and Mike Riley from the Bruins. They would lose Tyler Mott and a second-round pick. And the Bruins would give up... Oh, the Bruins would land Gavrikov, Mott, and the second from the Sens.
What does Columbus
get? Columbus gets Craig Smith from Boston, a first and a third.
Oh. Okay, so
that started weird, but it came back around.
It did start weird. Okay.
There's a lot of pieces in this trade.
Yeah, so obviously now that we've sort of it's a bit redundant because Mott's gone, but I think the idea of Boston trading away a guy to upgrade, so going from Grzelcyk to Gavrikov.
I don't love that. I don't
love it either.
If it's not Grzelcyk, I think the concept makes sense, but I don't think Gavrikov is an upgrade on Grzelcyk now.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. Does it say who made that trade? Like whether or not they're a Sens fan or a Bruins fan. Probably a Sens fan.
Oh, it's a Bruins fan.
Really?
Bruins _16 is the username.
Huh.
That's an interesting one.
Because
Okay.
I know they would be looking to get rid of Riley. I think he has some money attached to him, right? And he doesn't.
So does Craig Smith.
constantly
That's
play.
like $6 million in players between those two.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I don't know if that's something I would like and even touch with a 10-foot pole if I'm Boston. I'm not looking to break up that room. At the very most, I'd be looking to add a guy or two. That's definitely an interesting one. Do you got another one there that maybe doesn't have Tyler Mott involved?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to not include him in these.
Yeah, okay,
this one seems...
That's fair.
Actually, there is another one here.
Okay.
I'm not sure I love it, but it's the Sens and the Canucks.
Please be a Besser trade. That'd be cool.
Sens acquire Thatcher Demko and Brock Besser. But out the door, you see Tyler Boucher, Kevin Mandolese, Drake Batherson, 2023 first, 2023 second.
Holy crap.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay.
That's cool.
That's a lot to dissect.
concept.
So so just Demko and Besser or any picks coming to Ottawa?
No, just those two. Just Demko and Besser.
Demko and Besser. I'm pulling up Cap Friendly. Demko and Besser, and in exchange, it's Batherson, Mandolese, Boucher, a first and a second.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That is so much. I think...
Am I
Ryan,
crazy
do
to
you have
say
thoughts?
without looking at it on paper, I would almost want to do it as a Sens fan?
I think... Oh, man. This is a tough one.
Because I really want Demko. We can stick on this for a minute, too.
I want him so bad, yeah.
Yeah. Let's circle back to Demko. Let's dissect this trade for a sec. So, on the surface, Batherson to Besser... Do we think that that's a downgrade, an upgrade, or a wash?
I think downgrade.
I think
slightly.
that's a downgrade.
A slight or significant?
Well, I don't know.
Slight.
Besser's cap hit is kind of ugly for
6.6. Yeah, that's true. He does make almost $2 million
Batherson's on an
more than
insane
Batherson.
contract.
In terms of value, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll call that a downgrade. But then you're essentially trading that downgrade, a first, a second, Boucher, and Mandolese for Demko. Do we like that trade for Demko?
I don't hate that.
I don't hate it either.
let's take out the Batherson for Besser component and assume that the cap works for the rest. You're now trading Boucher, Mandolese, a first and a second for Demko. Do we take that now?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Owen?
Yeah. 2023 first, though, without any protection is a little...
Okay, yeah. Well, that's where we got to
iffy.
start talking a little bit, but...
Yeah, but if it let's say that was a 2024 or
2024,
12 protected or something like that, then I do that any day.
How about 2023 top 2 protected?
No,
because you're looking at 11th overall right now, unless you win a lottery, and in which case you get to keep it.
No,
you're not doing that.
No, I would do top 10 at least.
But
I guess it has to be top 2. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. The top 2 is because it's not really going to be anywhere between 3 and 10.
Oh no, I don't like it.
Oh, don't like it? It's Thatcher Demko, dude.
It's Thatcher again. I want him so bad.
I'd do it.
You do it? Those 4.
I think I would do it.
Okay, there'd also need to be some salary. Would you? Okay, let's expand it one more step further. I would think that for the cap to work, let's go look at the Sens for a sec. You'd probably have to include Anton Forsberg, and I would think Vancouver might want him back just to have a warm body in net. What do you think? Do you think Forsberg would have to be involved or some sort of salary? Because I don't think Ottawa could just take $5 million in salary straight up.
Yeah, I think so. I think you'd have to include Forsberg or something like that.
Yeah.
Ryan, was
Or
there
maybe-
something you wanted to expand upon, like with Demko, or that we sort of?
No, I just wanted to maybe circle around to general thoughts if we were done doing this specific trade. But
Okay.
if the Sens were looking to get rid of more salary and something like that too, I would even say screw it, throw another pick in and take Zaitsev. Like if you're
Yeah.
blowing it up that bad,
Yeah,
take Zaitsev.
yeah, that makes sense. Like Vancouver's kind of just tanking right now. Not even kind of. I think they're fourth last in the NHL right now, which actually very much surprised me when I looked at it the other day. Oh no, they're not fourth last. They're sixth last, and like on Arizona's heels. Like they've been losing big time, and Arizona's been playing pesky Arizona hockey all year.
That's the one other thing that the Sens could do at the deadline too, is move on from Zaitsev in some sort of move.
That's true. Do you think that'll happen? Or do
I
you
think
that's
it
an
will.
off-season?
It's been reported a lot. I don't know if it necessarily makes sense unless they're bringing in somebody else with similar salary.
Yeah.
But like at the start of the season, it made a ton of sense, or in the off season. But now he's 1 year out. He's gonna have a signing bonus that he's due. Like if he gets paid that on July 1st, like it's gonna cost so much less to get rid of him or just buy him out. I don't know if it makes a ton of sense to just trade him away unless you're bringing someone else in now, in my opinion.
So in that original, just circling back. So we said Demko for Boucher, Mendelez first and second, and you guys wanted some protection on the first. Let's say Zaitsev gets tossed into the deal. Would you be willing to take off any protection on the first rounder?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm not
That'd be
including Zaitsev for the smallest chance that they get Bedard out of that. No chance.
Okay.
No chance.
All right. I think that's enough. Like, Ryan, Owen, did you have any other thoughts on that trade? Like, that's a fascinating one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you take out the Batherson for Besser part and you just look at that little portion of the trade that we did, I think that's a no-brainer that you do it.
Yeah.
To bring in a goalie like Demko.
The Besser for Batherson part is like weird. I just think that's weird.
I
Like,
wonder
that's a trade.
I wonder if whoever created this, if like that was maybe them. Well, actually, maybe not, because like the Sens are still taking on like a lot of salary there.
Yeah, that's
I
like
thought maybe
$11
like
million
the
bucks.
Batherson for Besser was like a salary thing, but the Sens would
Besser-
be looking at moving out. Like, what is Batherson making? 4 point.
Essentially
Fine.
5. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you take on $5 million from Demko and 6.6 from Besser. So I guess that doesn't really make sense, but
Besser feels more like a trade for picks thing if I'm Vancouver, but
Like in a hypothetical trade of that scenario too, you could throw in Matthew Joseph or something as well.
true.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, true.
let's. Owen, do you have any other like more bangers on there? Like, is there one other like one that sticks out to you, or is the rest like?
I know there's
'Cause I
one
kinda
with
wanna talk
Arizona
about
on
Ottawa.
there somewhere. There's
Pardon?
got to be one with Arizona on there somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't see one.
because I wouldn't mind talk.
No, that's it.
okay.
There's not many. Like, I can't seem to find many other ones with the Sens involved. And,
Which kind of speaks to like sort of the lack of. I don't even know what to call it. The lack of like direction Ottawa can take at the deadline. Like unless
just-
they swing for the fences for a guy with term, there's not a lot to do.
Yeah, this is what the middling teams do. Like you kind of just stand pat unless something really attractive comes your way either way. So it'd be interesting to see what they do, but because it's not clear at this point yet, and I still don't think it's clear to Pierre Dorion, which is a little scary, but
It is
what
scary.
it is.
All right, let's talk about maybe a couple names. Owen, we won't keep you too much longer. Let's talk about a couple names that we would maybe want to see Ottawa target at the deadline. And maybe they don't have to be names that we want to see, maybe just names that we've seen floated out there, whether we like them or not. Ryan, I know you've got them on tap all the time. Owen, do you maybe have like a name, maybe besides Demko, that you'd really like to see Ottawa go after in terms of adding, whether it be a big name or something small or whatever?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the very, very low hanging fruit here and go with Jacob Chikrin.
Okay.
I know that's just like the cop out answer, but ever since the Sens have been like reportedly in on him since the summer, I've just been huge on acquiring him. Like literally do whatever it takes to get that guy on the team. I don't know now if they'll be able to get it done with the other teams that are reportedly in on him. Because I know the Kings were in on him, and I know their prospect pool is a lot more desirable than the Sens with like Brant Clark, and I heard Byfield's name tossed around with some proposals there, but I'm not sure if that'll gain any traction. But yeah, Chikrin is a guy that I would 100% throw whatever you have to at.
I think Byfield and Clark are both sort of off limits for LA, but LA's prospect pool is so deep for a team that's that good. Like I think they're the team for sure. I think if Ottawa was going to ever get Chikrin, it would have been last offseason when the original trade request came out and the team was filled with hope after getting like DeBrincat and Giroux and all that. I just think maybe a little bit of the luster has worn off with Chikrin to the Ottawa, because obviously it's a dream fit. He'd come in and be the top guy right away and for multiple seasons at a really affordable cap hit. I just don't think it's realistic at this point, but it'd be interesting. It'd be extremely cool. I do agree. Ryan, do you got one?
Yeah, it kind of revolves right around the LA situation as well. It looks, by all accounts, that they're going to do something to add as well, and it looks like that maybe someone like Roy or Wah. How do you pronounce his name? Is
it's just
Roy?
Matt Roy.
Yeah, I thought French? It was Roy, but I didn't think so, but it sounded weird just saying Roy, so I wasn't sure.
It is weird. So many players with the name Roy have gone by Wah that it's like...
I didn't know. So, anyways. So that was one that was brought up, I think a couple times that Ottawa's been linked to, and would be one that I would definitely be open to bringing in. I don't know. Like that was one they were linked to. Outside of that, there's really not like a ton out there.
Do you guys like the idea of Matthew Dumba?
I don't love it.
Very iffy on that.
Very iffy?
Yeah.
In what sense? Like, what makes you feel iffy about Matthew Dumba?
Just like the amount of money he's going to cost for the player that he now is, and like I don't know. I've seen a lot of the mock trades with him have included like Bernard Docker and like draft picks and stuff, and I don't think I'd be comfortable giving up on him yet because I still see a lot of potential with JBD. And I don't know, Dumba with his age and how much money he's making. I don't know. I wouldn't like. I would welcome him to the team. I would be cautiously optimistic. Like I would just take. Yeah.
So
I would be very careful with what you'd give up for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. Dumba is on an expiring deal, making $6 million a year. What if, let's say, like they acquire Dumba, and when the trade is announced, it's alongside a 3-year extension worth $4 million a year? Would that make you more or less comfortable with the trade? Owen?
I think I'd be more comfortable with that.
You'd like it if it was like a little bit of term?
Yeah. If he was like, if you got him at a little bit cheaper, like in terms of salary, I think so.
Ryan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that definitely makes me feel a little bit better about it. But it seems like there's been a lot of concerns about his play out of Minnesota this year. So that kind of concerns me too about giving a guy a new contract when there's been so much talk about his maybe declining play. So I don't know.
Yeah, and
Dumba in general scares me a little bit.
I don't think Dumba does get moved. And if he does, I don't think it's necessarily to Ottawa because I don't think he really fits the timeline. Like he's 28, but the guys on the LA Kings that I think Ottawa's more likely to target are more closer to their mid-20s than their late 20s. Mm-hmm. And I also think that a trade like that is more likely, especially with Minnesota seemingly looking to toe the line between buyer and seller after they facilitated a deal with the Leafs, between the Leafs and the Blues, weaponizing their cap space, but also pushing for a playoff spot. So I think they're going to be one of those middling teams, maybe like Ottawa, except to more of an extreme with bigger deals. So that's kind of why I mentioned Dumba. But
yeah, and then I guess a name to look for that would be an absolute wild card, but was brought up this past week is Mackenzie Weegar of the Calgary Flames. Now, this feels like it would be an off-season move, if at all, but apparently the Flames are not. I don't even know where this. Like, I think it was Pagnotta, or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, I think it's Pagnotta, something like that.
Anyways, his ad on Twitter is the fourth period. I know him by that. He reported that apparently the Flames may be looking to move on from Mackenzie Weegar after they just signed him to a massive extension. So, like, I don't even know how that would work.
Owen, do you know what?
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Did you see those?
It just doesn't
rumors,
make sense. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, how come it doesn't make sense? Because I agree.
Well, to me, no. The way I don't think it makes sense is, like, I think the time for Ottawa to acquire Weegar was last summer.
Yeah.
When he was still on the Panthers, and it just, to me, like, going to Flames games while living here, like, Weegar is not an issue on the team. Like,
no.
Like, he's, like, not at all. And, like, you signed him to an 8-year deal, and, like, I don't even know. I don't see the reason why the Flames would want to trade him out. Like, I don't see the reason at all. It just doesn't make. That's what doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, this guy's not hurting your team. His cap hit is like that's. I think there's nothing wrong with his contract. Maybe the last few years might be a little bit iffy, but, like, I just don't see any reason for the Flames to want to move this guy,
especially this soon.
It doesn't really make. It doesn't make any sense, but it was reported by a pretty highly respected guy that I thought anyways. So we'll
I guess you'll have a
see
good
if that goes
conversation with
anywhere,
Audie this week about this.
We will have a good conversation.
Yeah.
He was pretty riled up about it. It was quite funny. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's almost like I hate bringing up the NBA when we talk about NHL trades, but it was very like an NBA style rumor where this guy who just signed a max term extension that literally has not kicked in yet is being rumored to be shopped by the team that he signed the extension with, which is like happens every other Sunday in the NBA. So like it was definitely interesting, kind of a pipe dream.
For sure.
But I mean, like, who wouldn't want Mackenzie Weegar? That guy is so elite. But yeah, I don't think that's happening. 8-year deal, 6.25.
It's fun to talk about and, like, think of trades to come up with, but it's just not something I could see ever happening.
Yeah.
There's not even anything that would really make sense for the Flames. Like, what are you even looking for back in that? Like, this offseason, you very clearly said you're not really looking to go for a futures direction. So what do you want back for Mackenzie Weegar? Yeah. Like, is that your Batherson trade? I don't know.
That's 100% my Batherson trade. But, like, I don't know. Like, you've got Nas, you've got who is it? Huberdeau, you've got Markstrom, you've got all these guys signed big money till their late 30s, and you're going to trade away the best one of them? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So probably just a guy looking for clicks. Definitely we're talking about. I'm glad you brought it up because I completely forgot about those rumors last week. Ryan, do you have any other like questions or names to throw Owen's way? Like this has kind of flown by since all three of us are Sens fans. We've been kind of just shooting the shit because, I mean, Ottawa's kind of looking like it's not going to be a very fun deadline. So we've kind of just been talking about the team.
Yeah, it's a different feeling being a Sens fan because like the last 3 or 4 deadlines have been so chaotic and like stressful. So like this one is so low key and like not much going on that I'm just expecting something to come out of complete left field.
At least we can go in with less stress of not knowing that like a big name is moving out.
Yeah,
just kind of go in. Like even if they do nothing, it's just like okay, cool. Because we're just so used to all the big names getting traded. I found one more mock trade. I don't know how much this moves the needle at all, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Sure.
It would be Nashville and Ottawa. Ottawa would receive Dante Fabro from the Predators in exchange for Lassie Thompson and a second-round pick that they got from Washington for the Connor Brown trade.
1 second. Let me just bring up Fabro's numbers.
I think I would do that, but like I don't know. I don't know how much Fabro is shown in the NHL.
So. Okay, yeah. So Fabro's 24 years old, drafted 17th overall in 2016. Doesn't play on the power play, although who would in Nashville? You got Roman Josi. He's playing 16 minutes a night. He's a -1 for what it's worth. He's got 8 points, 1 goal in 50 games. And I'm just working on bringing up his analytics side because it's really hard to see a player's defensive impact with just raw numbers. So just bear with me. Ryan, if you want to give your first thoughts.
When you first said Fabro, my mind immediately jumps to a high prestige prospect. Like that's how I've seen him kind of just over the past couple of years, and I haven't really tracked his game as he's transitioned to the pros. So I'm just not really sure. But when you first said Nashville, I thought you were going to say Ekholm because that was one that the Sens have been linked to as well too.
So, yeah, that's actually a good point. Ekholm. Okay, why can't I? There he is. Okay, Dante Fabro this season is making $2.4 million. He's an expiring deal. He's going to be an RFA at the end of the year. Dom Luszczyszyn of The Athletic has him at a $3.3 million market value. So that's a surplus about $1 million. But he needs a new contract. I don't know. Like, I like the idea of acquiring him for Lassie Thompson. I don't know if I love the second-round pick thrown in. Yeah. But I also don't know, like, who's Fabro playing with? Is he like really get put in a position to succeed? Whatever. Like, because he's 24, and it's got him at a market value of $3.3 million. I don't know. If it was a third, maybe I'd probably counter with a third in Lassie Thompson. See what Nashville says. Like, Owen, do you have any thoughts initially on the trade?
I'm pretty similar to Ryan's thoughts, where like I hear the name and I remember him on the Team Canada junior team a few years back being like one of the highly touted prospects on the team, but I'll be honest, I haven't really followed his career so much. I don't know if that's necessarily transitioned into the NHL, but I definitely think the second, if you do include Thompson, I think the second is a little too much. I would, like you said, I'd be more comfortable doing like a third with him.
I'd do the second. I'd do a first for Ekholm. Like a protected first or something.
With that contract too.
1 sec. How many years does he have?
I don't know how many. I can't remember how many years he's got left, but he's at
6 and a quarter.
Yeah.
He's at 6 and a quarter for 3 years after this season. He's in the first year of a 4-year contract.
He's also a lefty, but I don't know how much you care about
I don't care about that.
I don't necessarily care a ton about it either, but
interesting one. Very interesting one. I think I like the idea of Fabro, to be honest. He's young, has first-round pedigree, and I don't know, maybe if you get him, he unlocks a little bit. Nashville's definitely in, like, kind of a similar situation to Ottawa, except on the downswing because their team is so old. So I don't know if Fabro's a guy they look to trade, but I don't know. If the opportunity's there, I don't mind it. All right. Do you guys got anything else, or what do you guys think? Like, have we touched on all the bases for Ottawa heading up to the deadline? Is there any other small things that we want to hit on?
Yeah, I think the fact that we pulled out 45 minutes from basically just Holden and Watson.
Hey, Tyler Mott was traded for a conditional 7th today. Come on.
Yeah, my bad. I'll put a little bit of respect on that.
Tyler Mott.
And Julian Gauthier.
Former first-round pick, Julian Gauthier.
Blockbuster.
All right. All right. So, Owen, thank you again for joining the show. We're starting to create a nice little list of 2-time appearers on the show. Nice word.
The second time you've butchered that one.
I always forget which word to use. But that being said, that'll do it for this Senators trade deadline preview show. Ryan, hit the outro. Not a ton to talk about for the Sens, but you got to do what you got to do to make a show.
We'll get those middling picks back for Watson, baby. Let's get it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks again, Owen.
Thanks, guys.